This is Outside the Round with Matt Burrill, a Rowdy podcast.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Outside the Round with me, Matt Burrill. Shout out to our good friends from Surfside. No bubbles, no troubles. Delicious vodka, iced tea, lemonade, all the good stuff. Today, very, very, very special guest, a guy that I've been a huge fan of his music. I've been a huge fan of his podcast, 10 Year Town. He's got a new project, All the Rest, EP to kick off the year. It's our man, Troy Cartwright, brother. It is awesome to be sitting across from you, man.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me.
Dude, anytime. Like, huge fan of what you do, seriously, and love the conversations that you have with different folks here in Nashville and folks that are in the music business, and super stoked to have some new music coming out from you, man.
Yeah, I'm pumped.
How's it feel to have a project coming out to kind of start off the year?
It feels great. You know, I've been working on this record, this EP, etc. All the rest is like a part of like a like a larger body of work, and I've been working on it for so long, like literally years, to the point where I'm like, is this ever gonna happen? You know, I'm like so in the weeds on this thing. So for it to be kind of where it's at now and ready to be, released into the wild, so to speak, it's really exciting.
Yeah, what made you want to go for it now? Because I know 24 and in previous years, you put out a lot of music in your time, bud. And 25, you put a little bit out there. But what is it about 2026 where I want to get songs out there?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, it's sort of a longer story, I guess. But I think, my career has always had these like different, I don't know. It's like I started in Texas. That was like one facet of my career. Then I moved to Nashville and I got signed, and that was like one part of my career. And then I was sort of post-label for the last 4 or 5 years. And that was, a really great experience where I had all this freedom to like put out as much music as I wanted, whatever was inspiring me. And I kind of got to this point when I was putting out my last project, Bygones, where I was like, I really want to just like take a second, because I've just been going, like you said, I think I released like 30 songs in like 2.5 years or something. And I really wanted to like take some time, and like I felt like I earned like the ability to like take a little break and just like really think about what I wanted to do next and what I wanted to say. And so I kind of had this idea where I wanted to like dig a little bit deeper and like get to make a project from start to finish with the whole record in mind, which is something I haven't somehow, like, even though I've been doing this for so long, I've never really had that opportunity. It's always been sort of, okay, we got this song. Does this song go with this song? Let's just put these together. That sounds like a record,
just
right?
Just puzzle pieces.
Yeah. This was the first time I really got to like sit down and go, what kind of world do I want to make? And getting to sort of like pull out, the way that I think about it is there's just a giant chunk of marble that I've had, and I've kind of gotten to slowly chisel away at it. And so getting to kind of free this idea from the marble has just been like really rewarding, and I'm really excited about it, and I'm really proud of it.
Yeah. Are you still working with Aaron Esheis?
Yeah, with Aaron. Aaron did a couple songs on this record, and Brandon Hood did the other ones, and then the title track, etc. All the rest was produced by Jason Massey.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
and that's kind of one of the benefits to being in town so long. You've been here so long that you have your guys and girls that you love to create with, and they've grown over the years just like you have, to where your whole process kind of marinates, man, and then it comes out of the oven exactly how you want it.
That's right. You know who to use. It's like, oh, I'm trying to make this dish. You know the guy to call for that,
Yeah, man. So I want to back up to you're a Texas guy, but you went to Berkeley. You spent some time up in New England. What was that like, transitioning from Dallas going up to New England, man?
It was great. When I was graduating high school, I was just desperate to like get out. I think I chose Boston because it was far. I just wanted to try something different. And it was way different from growing up in Dallas. It was a culture shock for sure. And immediately I was not the best musician there at all. And that was really, honestly, like super beneficial to
Yeah.
realize like, oh, hey, the world doesn't revolve around you.
Yeah.
and if you want to be good at this, you're gonna have to like put in a lot of work. So I loved all of that education that I got musically, and then also one of the cool things about being at a place like Berkeley is that it's really international, and so you're just around people that aren't like you. I mean,
Yeah.
that literally grew up in a completely different situation than you, from people from all over the country and all over the world, and like, you know, it was, I think, just like pretty foundational to me as a human being, and like how I see the world or whatever.
Yeah, man, perspective is a huge thing.
Yeah.
And to get that in your college years,
Yeah.
not a lot of people have that, you know? It's so, and I think that helps you as a creative with the songwriting process and
No
this whole
doubt.
music thing of understanding how it works outside of living in Dallas, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you know, like just growing up, you know, like I'd never drank a beer until I got to college. You know, that was a whole learning process.
Yeah.
Of just how to like conduct yourself, you know.
Yeah, man.
In the world. And so I learned a lot at Berkeley for sure.
Yeah, and Boston, like you said, is just a whole different world. Like, I'm a New York guy. So
Okay.
I grew up about 30 minutes outside New York City, went to college in New Jersey, spent a lot of my time before I moved here about 8 years ago,
Yeah.
living in the Northeast.
Yeah.
And Boston is just such a different vibe. Like, the
Yeah.
culture of people up there, like, you still have that blue collar kind of feel to it, but
Yeah.
it's an exciting place, I'm sure, to spend
Oh
your
yeah,
college
it's
time.
great. And we would go to New York like all the time.
It's just, everything's
Yeah.
just a train ride away.
Yeah, we took the I don't know if it was still running. We would take like the Funghua, the
Oh,
Chinatown
bro,
bus.
the Funghua
Yeah,
bus. You're
man.
taking me back, bro.
It was like $25. It'd drop you off. It'd pick you up like in like South Station in Boston and
Yeah.
drop you off in Chinatown in New York. And I think pretty soon after I moved, they like had to shut it down because I think it was like really unsafe.
Yeah, it was. I never experienced the Funghua. I had buddies that would kind of take it for the bit or to go see buddies that were up in New
I
England.
mean, it was cheap, dude. One time I was on there and there was just like a lady with a live chicken.
Yeah.
and I was like. That no one was fazed by this.
Yeah, man, the Funghua, bro. I haven't talked about the Funghua
Yeah,
in a
man.
while, bro. That takes me back, man.
Yeah,
It's
we were
a different world.
frequent riders of the Funghua for sure.
Yeah, man, and getting to travel to a New York or a Philly, just that proximity of getting to enjoy culture.
Totally,
you know?
man. Yeah, I loved all that stuff, and you know, you had friends from, you know, all over, and you know, you weren't worried about like getting a nice hotel. It was just like, does somebody have a couch? You know,
Yeah.
it's like a friend of a friend of a friend that said you could stay there. You don't even know if it's legit or not.
Yeah, bunking up with your buddy that's in like Williamsburg or Astoria or one of those spots where where the young college age kids can afford to actually be in New York.
Yeah.
So when did you get out here to Nashville?
So after college, I moved back to Dallas, and I really, so, you know, my dream originally going to college was I wanted to move to New York and like work in the music business. And I did an internship in New York in college and like quickly realized that I didn't want to like be in the actual business like I thought I did.
Yeah.
I wanted to be an artist, and not do, you know, like accounting, which is basically what my internship was like royalty accounting.
Yeah.
Not like
a
super
lot
sexy.
of numbers, man.
Yeah, but I really credit that with like lighting a fire under me, going, if you're gonna do this, you're gonna need to, you know,
Yeah.
like get to work, and like it's not my plan. You know, this wasn't a good plan. It was like, oh well, I'll work in the music business, I'll meet the right people, and then I can break in that way. And I just realized like there was a lot of separation of like church and state between like people in the business and like the people making the music. You know?
Yeah.
So when I graduated college, I was doing a lot of different stuff to just, you know, get by. I was like walking dogs in Boston. I was singing in weddings, playing gigs, you know, and I realized that if I wanted to like be doing original music, I probably needed to go back to Texas just because it was cheaper. I could like move in with my parents for a little bit and like kind of just start at the bottom and work my way up. Whereas like when I was in Boston, like I was having to do so much stuff just to like pay rent. So I knew I was like, if I really want to dedicate all my time to writing songs and doing original music, like I need as much time as I can possibly find.
Yeah, and there's a scene in Texas,
absolutely,
which is a huge thing.
Which was a huge part of it. I had like an old drum teacher that played drums for this Texas singer-songwriter named Max Stalling, and I just kept up with him over the years, and I sent him some songs, and he was like, I think they'd like this down here. And like in hindsight, he didn't totally know. He just said it, and I took it as like gospel fact. Like, they're gonna love me down there. Yeah. I'm gonna move home. So I moved back to Dallas, and I just, I moved in with mom and dad, which was strange. That felt like a massive step backwards, but it was in pursuit of the dream, and I just started playing, man. I started playing coffee shops, and I was writing. I wrote every day at 11. Like I just treated it like a job. No one was paying me, but every day at 11 I would write, started playing shows, was kind of playing through the video game Guitar Hero, where like I started in the coffee shop and then I moved up to like the local bar.
Yeah.
This place called 8 Air Saloon. Shout out to Joel. And they would let you play a 4-hour set, but you could play originals. And you got like 20% of the bar tab. So that was the goal. It was like, all right, I got to get all of my friends to come see me play. And you learn so much about which songs of yours work and which covers kind of like keep the people there. Yeah. It was like a real education. And then from there, started getting gigs in Austin and Lubbock. And, you're just slowly expanding the network or whatever. And I met a lot of guys. Like early on, met Cleto from Flatland,
one of the best humans you could possibly meet in the world. Yeah,
truly the best guy. And me and him and Parker McCollum and Randall King, we were all in like a songwriter competition in Stephenville, Texas. Larry Joe Taylor songwriting competition. And that's how I met those guys, was just from doing that. And that was like 10 or it might have been like 12 years ago now.
Wow.
And it's just kind of crazy how like over time it's like, oh wow, that was a kind of like a stacked songwriter competition.
Yeah, I'd say so, man. I'd say so.
Yeah. So I just was making records and like doing the thing. I had absolutely no clue what I was doing. I was in a GMC Yukon driving all over, and just playing shows wherever, whoever would have me. And we played some weird ones and we played some great ones, and I was very like entrepreneurial minded. I didn't have a manager or a booking agent for real for so long. Like I was playing like 100 shows a year, and I just couldn't. I couldn't find anybody to help me, and it really tore me up, man. It made me feel like it's like, okay, am I not legit?
Yeah.
And that was like a great lesson that I learned, because all that stuff like totally worked itself out, But I think a lot of people get like hung up on like, well, I need this person to make it. And like, you don't. Just do it yourself.
Especially as your buddies are starting to get all that.
Totally, dude.
Which is one of the hardest things about this whole music business and being a songwriter and being an artist is your buddy will get a publishing deal. And it's like, well, where's mine? Or your buddy will have a manager start working for him, or a booking agent, or a label or something. And it's knowing that your time is going to come and just keeping after it like you did.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's the comparison stuff, like, is hard. But over time, you realize like it's all good. And if somebody else is like starting to get some heat or some action or whatever, that looks like it's like that's good. That's good for everybody.
High tides raise all ships.
Totally. And those people are your friends like the whole time. That's the other part you don't realize is like, the friendships that you make along the way, dude, it's literally the whole point.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about the ride and whatever, all the good stuff, records that you sell or cool shows that you play. It's like, that stuff's cool, man. But like, it's the people you're doing it with that really like make it worthwhile.
Yeah, I was saying this in a Red Door conversation with a kid, which I have a lot of those hosting events in town. Even though I'm 10 years off the booze, it's like I spend a lot of late nights at Red Door still with the kids that are new to town.
Yeah.
And I tell them this whole thing is about creating cool things with your friends.
That's it, man.
That's really what this is. And when you realize that it's that, which is helpful at a young age. So a lot of guys and girls people still do it where you can make a whole career and make a whole living just staying in Texas. So what prompted the leaving the Lone Star State to come out here?
Well, I never thought I would leave.
Yeah.
And I had started getting some traction around this EP I made called Don't Fade. And I had a radio promoter that was doing like Texas radio. And she knew a guy in Nashville that was a publisher. And she was like, you should meet this guy. You should just go up there. And I had some friends in Nashville, so it was, you don't like need a ton of excuses to go to Nashville.
No.
But because I'd never really been before to Nashville. So I came up here and I met this guy, and he took a meeting with me, and I played him some songs, and he was like, that's cool, man. And you're like, so do I get a record? You don't know how it works.
Yeah.
And he it was very nice of him. He set me up on a few co-writes. And I'd never really done that before. And I came back a couple months later, and I had my first co-write, and it was with this guy, Clint Daniels.
Yeah.
Who's like a legend and an amazing human. And I have no idea why. Whatever they said to talk him into writing with me was a good sales job on their part. But we wrote, and then afterwards he took me to Red Door, of course, and it was probably like 3 p.m. and he's like, all these people here are songwriters. And I couldn't believe it. Like that, I didn't know that there were other people that were like messed up the same way that I am, and introduced me to all these songwriters, and I was hooked, man. I was like, this is it. Cause it's doing it in Texas was so great. But Dallas itself was like a little bit lonely in terms of like just having people to write songs with. There's not like a ton of infrastructure around songwriting. And I think it's getting better now, but it was, it was just like, okay, so I can just show up here and like all these people hang out in these places and write songs, and this is a real job. Like, are you kidding me? So pretty soon after that, I like found a way to come to Nashville,
Yeah, man.
And that's how I got here.
Yeah, man. It's just, it blows the mind of like the abundance of creators that are here and of songwriters.
Yeah, and like you kind of need a little bit of like delusion to do it because everybody is so good. I think if I knew everything that I knew now, like I might not have had the guts to do it.
Yeah.
But it was just I didn't know any better, and I just jumped in, and jumped all the way in and got in way over my head. But I learned a lot, and it worked out. So
yeah, man, it definitely did. And what year would that have been that you moved out?
So
here?
that was I really should have the date. It was sometime in the summer of 2016. I actually don't remember.
What a time to move here too, with what was going on in the city at that time.
And I was touring like crazy in Texas. So like I don't even remember. I know my lease ended in Dallas in May, and I drove some stuff up here, and I remember flying like every Thursday I was flying back, and every Monday I was flying back to it was very chaotic.
Yeah.
And then sometime like a year after that I got like an actual publishing deal, and was able to sort of like figure out like, okay, we're getting good rights now, we can like focus on this a little bit.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It was 2016. I think of two big. I mean, there were a lot of great events like what we do in town
Yeah.
now, but I think of like that being one of the heydays of Whiskey Jam. Really,
Dude.
Ward and
Yep.
and Josh and those guys really getting that going. And then I think of Revival over at Tim
Yeah,
Move
man.
back in the day. And
Yeah.
Why Not Wednesday was another great one. Threesome Thursdays. Like
Yeah.
there were some. What a time to be new in town.
Oh, it was the best, and that's how you met all my friends at Whiskey Jam. You know, I mean, and I think that was the summer that the Preds were like made that deep playoff run.
Yeah.
And because I remember you'd go to the Whiskey Jam like outdoor party at
Yeah, in the losers parking
and
lot.
they would have the game on.
Yeah.
And then people would play. I think that's the first time I saw Morgan Wallen play.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it was a magical time, and of course, had no idea. Just thought this was like what every day is like.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And it's like that sense of community
Yeah.
of those years. Cause I got here 2018. So I was like right in kind of that middle ballpark of just, you went out during the week and then you went and watched your buddies play or made new friends that were playing. And then you'd go to Losers and listen to the band and then you go to Red Door. And
Yep.
it was just like,
That was
it was a scene, man. And then going to Revival on Tuesdays was like an institution. Like it was a big deal when a buddy of yours was playing on that pew.
Yeah, man.
You know?
Absolutely.
Special times, man.
Yeah.
And like I said, I love your music, but I
Yeah.
also love what you're doing with 10 Years Out.
Oh,
man.
thanks, man.
It is one of my favorites. You're over 100 episodes now,
Yeah.
which is got to be an unbelievable feeling. But talk about where your mind was with getting that started.
Well, I think I had been making so much content as like an artist, and I was really getting like a bit burnt out on like, I don't know how to describe this. It was sort of, you know, like people understand if you're making a TikTok every day, it's like you do it for a couple years, you're like, boy, I don't know. I don't know if this is doing as like what I want it to be doing.
Yeah.
But I really loved, you know, I understood the power of like content and making stuff. And I was trying to find a way to sort of just like still be consistent with that kind of stuff, but like elevate the conversation. And I really have a deep passion and respect for the craft of songwriting. And I just figured like there's got to be a way to like talk to people about this, you know, and make a podcast, because what was happening is like, you know, you go do a write and you spend the first 30 minutes talking to somebody because you haven't met them before, and you know, you're just kind of getting their story. And I knew that would be a really interesting podcast.
Yeah.
But I didn't totally know how to do it. And I thought about it for a long time and, you know, was trying to find like the perfect name. And one night, me and my wife, we have like a kitchen table in our house, and we talk most nights there and just like, you know, try and like solve all the world's problems basically.
Yeah.
And one night she said like, "Oh, your podcast should be called 10 Year Town." And it was like, "Oh, of course." And then after that, it was like within a month or two, like it, you know, somehow once we had the name, it was like easy to like get it going.
Yeah.
And then I had to just convince all my buddies to like come on, and I felt like super uncomfortable, you know.
Yeah.
First few episodes, you're like, "Hey, will you like come do this thing that I'm in no way qualified to do?" Try and
Well, you sit here and talk with me into a microphone while we record it on camera.
yeah. So Benji Davis was the first episode.
Great episode to start with, by the way.
Yeah, and then actually we had to redo it because I was so bad. So I think Jimmy Bell ended up being our first episode. I can't remember if it was him or Benji.
I think Jimmy was episode 1 because I was scrolling back before this.
I had to. I like a month later, I was like, "Benji, can you come do it again?" Like I got so much better for like the first time to the fourth time I did it or whatever. So it started out with me just asking my friends and talking about songwriting, which I love because I feel like people from the outside looking in, like, you know, my hope is that people can have a better understanding of the journey that the songwriter takes and like place more value on the craft of songwriting, because I do see a lot of things that make me nervous for the future of songwriting, and I just hope that it helps people like understand how valuable and special it is, and this small little ecosystem within the music industry like deserves to be celebrated and deserves to be protected, because we're facing like a lot of headwinds, and there's a lot of really smart people trying to figure it out, and ultimately it'll be fine. But hopefully this helps everybody understand it a little bit better.
Yeah, man. And I love how in-depth the conversations get. Like, for me, some of my favorite episodes have been the Stephen Wilson Jr. episode was incredible, man. And I had him on here a few years back, like when he was just starting to go out there with the Brothers Osborne guys and like just starting to kind of get music out there. Like I think 1994 just come out, you know, and to see what he's done. But listening to him tell his story, Hardy said some incredibly inspiring things on his episode. You just had Isaac from 49 Winchester on. We're big fans of them as well. And even listening to the career writers like the JT Hardings of the world, you know, offered a lot of insight.
Yeah, man. It's really, they're all those guys that you mentioned, they're all just like really special.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the thing. It's like everybody has a story, and to get to tell it is like, I feel like it's really an honor to me.
Yeah, man. It's an awesome platform to have.
Yeah,
and I'm sure, has there been a crossover from people finding the podcast into checking out your music?
Yeah. It's interesting, like how it sort of ebbs and flows. I think when I started the podcast, I was like, really known for being an artist at the time.
Yeah.
And, now I see people popping up on some stuff I post from my artist stuff. They're like, "Are you the guy from 10 Year Town?" You know? And, so hopefully it all, gels together into like, one giant thing, that like helps show people who I am and like what I can do. And
yeah, man,
I enjoy that.
Yeah, you touched on a little bit earlier, but coming here and then working your way up and having the label deal, and then going from starting out independent and then having the label deal for a while, and then going back to that square one of being independent.
Yeah,
what was that period of time like, and getting back to doing the independent thing?
It was like quite painful at the time, for sure. It was like very disorienting. I think there was a lot of fear involved, just from the standpoint of, you make a lot of friends in your peers, your songwriting peers, and they're writing with you because you have a record deal, and they hope that you can go to the radio and take their song to radio. And so like when all of that sort of suddenly goes away, there's, a fear that, are these people even my friends?
Yeah.
And that's a lot to navigate, just mentally. I think it was like it was filled with a lot of landmines, I guess, that I was having to walk through. But ultimately it was like, what, am I going to do something about it, or am I just going to give up? And fortunately I just did what I always do, which is like, all right, I'm just going to have to grind and work hard. And I was able pretty quickly to like get some music out that I had been excited about and just for whatever reason couldn't put out on the label at the time, and started releasing that stuff independently. And it actually started working like pretty much immediately, which was, of course, vindicating.
Yeah.
And a relief. And gave me a lot of room to kind of like try different stuff, because it was, when you start to have success, like you have some money coming in, and you can kind of like take more chances, which to me has just always been the goal. It's like, I just want to make stuff.
Yeah.
So as long as I can keep making stuff, it's all good.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it was a wild ride. And I feel like I really, as painful as going through that was, like, I learned so much about myself.
Yeah.
And, how resilient I can be, like people talk about being resilient like it's a, like it's a superpower or like a skill set you can develop, but like you don't really know if you are until you have to be.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense. But when your back's against the wall, what are you
Yeah.
gonna do?
Yeah, like you find things out about yourself that you never knew. And when I look back at that time, like, I'm generally full of self-loathing about myself. But when I look back on that time, like I'm really proud of me, and that I was just able to like, make it through and kind of like somehow like thrive in that environment, and then get to where I'm at now, which is like just making stuff that I've always dreamed of making, and and I don't have to like ask anybody's permission. I just get to do it.
You're the boss.
Yeah.
You're the boss. I always try to bring that up especially when I get like the young kids that just moved here. I tell them like, you're the CEO. You know, you're bringing on partners for your product.
That's right.
That's
right. And I think I learned a lot too, just about like it's so people will burn you in this business, and you can let yourself be fueled by rage and like revenge or whatever you want to call it, but like it's a pretty toxic fuel.
Yeah.
So I think if it's what you need to get through, sure, use it, but like eventually you got to find like a better fuel source, something that can like sustain you for a longer period of time.
What have been some of those fuel sources for you?
I think I have a tremendous amount of gratitude for literally like getting to make music and understanding that there is so much that is not up to me. When I write a song, like I don't get to choose what happens to the song, if another artist is going to cut it, or if I'm going to put it out, all of that stuff is stuff that will happen, but trying to realize that getting to make it that day in that moment, like that's it. That is the whole thing.
Yeah.
And if you can find the joy in just getting to make it, that will sustain you. That will like make you better and make you so much more appreciative of everything, because you're not worried about what happens to it. It's like, I did it. I made it. That's it, and that is really, helped improve my outlook on life.
Yeah, man. No, it makes total sense. And you talk about being a songwriter and wondering if it's going to get cut. And you've had Lee Brice, Nickelback, Cody Johnson, Ryan Hurd, Josh Abbott Band, a bunch of others.
Yeah.
What's it like when you have somebody cut that song, and then you get to hear that finished product, and especially like a Lee Brice, like Kill the Man or a band like Nickelback, like that's gotta be sick.
Yeah, dude, it's just an honor. It is. It's always like doesn't feel real. My first like big cut, I guess, from like a major label artist was Ryan Hurd, and I just remember getting a text from him, and it was like, maybe Ryan Hurd, and it was like 2 a.m. and I was at Basement East or somewhere over there, and he was just like, I love this song, are you gonna cut it? And I was just like, I need to respond to this tomorrow.
Yeah.
I hit him back the next day. I was like, man, I love this song, but if you love it, you should put it on your record. And he did. And you're like, that's, dude, like I came to town looking up to Ryan, and the music that he makes and his artistry. So for him to put it on his record, that was like such an honor. That kind of stuff just really puts some wind in your sails,
Oh, I bet that next right you go in after finding out about that cut,
you're like, you feel like you belong. You're like, all right, this isn't all some elaborate joke that's happening to me. This is like actually real. And it's it's the same way every time. Like I have such vivid memories of like every song that's gotten cut. I think the Cody Johnson cut, Wished It Was You, I was going to New Orleans for a bachelor party, and Hardy's wife Callie was randomly on my flight. So I'm sitting there, and she like somebody taps me, and I look up, and it's her, and she turns her phone around and she's like, "I'm listening to your song. Wished it was you. Hardy just sent it to me." And I was like, "Huh, that's pretty cool," you know. And Hardy's my buddy, and
Yeah.
and I wrote it with Zach Aubin, who writes for Hardy. And by the time I had landed, I'm on a group text with Hardy and Zach and Benji, and it's like, Cody Johnson loves this song. He's gonna cut it. And like, you know, I mean, that didn't feel real at all. So it was just super special, you know?
Yeah.
And like, like every time that happens, it's like you just pinching yourself.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm sure it's a feeling that never gets old. How do you
Yeah.
decide? Because there's guys that write those songs that get buzz in town that
Yeah.
people want to cut. They end up holding on to, and
Sure.
sometimes that makes them like. Great example right now is Kenny Whitmire. Kenny Whitmire wrote that, has just put out "Gave Her the Moon," and that was a song that was being pitched around at labels
What a
all over the
song.
place. And he decided to hold on to it, and it's putting a light on him that deserves to be shined on him and getting him all kinds of opportunities. So he held on to it. Then there's other guys that end up holding on, and then sometimes it doesn't work out, and they probably kick themselves, being like, "Damn, I should have let an Aldean or a Luke Bryan or a Combs or a Wallen or somebody have that." So what's that decision process like? Because you're giving up one of your babies.
Yeah, for sure, man. And sometimes you really got to look in the mirror and like, with "Wished It Was You," that Cody Johnson song. There were a few other artists I think that had put it on hold or had taken a copy or whatever, and it didn't feel right. And when I heard that Cody was gonna cut it, it was like, it felt right. I don't know how to describe it. It's just, you can tell. And I think with my own music, some songs I just know, if I feel like I have to tell the story or like I'm not gonna be able to continue, you know, then I'll hold on to it. And I've got a few, you know, sometimes I get in a fight with my publisher about it. He's like, "We really ought to pitch this song." I'm like, "You can't. That's my song. It just is, you know?" So you try and navigate that as best you can. But man, when they're good, when it's a really good one, you know it, you're like, "Golly, I don't know what to do here," you know? But it's motivating in a way also, because you hope, hey, I hope somebody huge cuts this song. If not, I'll cut it.
Yeah.
You know? And then maybe if I want to cut it and somebody huge wants to cut the song, I'm like, all right, I gotta do this justice. I gotta become a better artist and work harder and like elevate myself. So I'm like worthy of singing it, you know?
And it's got to be full circle for you as a Texas guy to have one of the guys that's waving the Texas flag around the world.
Yeah.
And Kojo, I'm sure you remember when he was coming up too.
Absolutely, man. And like, he's you know, so like, obviously he's incredibly successful. Somehow I feel like he doesn't get enough credit. He's such an amazing entertainer, really like nice guy, very, you know, all the things that you would imagine about him like are true. You know, he does what he says, and when he cuts your song, like it's all the process is very smooth. So with some artists, they'll cut your song and you're like, is it even going to make the record? Like with Cody, it's always very like straightforward, and you know, you kind of know where you stand.
Yeah.
So
that's
good.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
What do you like doing when you're not doing music? Like, how do you keep the balance? Because you're a songwriter, an artist, a husband, a podcast host. Like, you have a lot of stuff going on, man. Like, how do you keep it all kind of how do you keep the train on the tracks?
Yeah, that's a great question. I really just, I'm by nature like a pretty disorganized person. I think that like surprises people because I do a lot all the time, but like I just kind of like every day is tornado, and I'm just like, I don't know, this is what I'm doing today. But as far as like what I do to relax, I mean, for the most part, man, I just like play music. I mean, I love it so much. And I like to read and like study and listen to records, and I'm really into kind of like some of the philosophy behind art, and I've been kind of like digging into that a little bit more, and been talking about that a little bit on the podcast. But, you know, I'm just like trying to find the meaning of life, you know, and like how if that's through a song or through a book on philosophy or through looking at birds, you know, and taking a walk, like whatever it is, I've really try and like find a way to stay present. And I feel like I'm in this phase of life where everything's happening really fast, and I'm just like kind of almost digging my heels in, like trying to slow down and just like enjoy it.
Yeah, man, we get one life.
Yeah.
We get one shot at doing this, so it's enjoying those moments. Like you said, being present. That's something that me and Nick with the Raise Rowdy stuff have to do. And we're running around like tornadoes as well, you know, where it is. I have that ADHD complex where it's like I almost do better in chaos. Like the structure kind of scares me sometimes.
Yeah, you know, and I mean that you got to be careful. Like when I'm on the road it's the best, because the only thing I got to do that day is get from Kansas City to Omaha, you know, and you feel such a sense of accomplishment when you're on the road. But like day to day, you don't have that, and you have to make sure you're, you know, staying on top of things as much as you can. And like with making the record, it's just been like really, I feel like part of the reason it's taken so long is just because I'm like, there's nobody asking me about it except for me, if that makes sense. You know, like if I slack off today, then I'm just a day further away from it happening. Yeah. So like staying locked in is like part of what makes it happen.
Yeah. So what are you hoping people feel when they listen to all the rest? When they listen to part one of this bigger project that's gonna be coming at us later this year?
So a lot of my favorite records kind of give a like a sense of place. If you think about like Southern Accent, Tom Petty, or like Nebraska with Bruce Springsteen, like I have always loved those records. And when I made this record, I had a place in mind, which was like it's this place out in West Texas that some of my family is from, and like where I used to go when I was a kid. And like when I have this like weird reoccurring dream where I'm out there in West Texas, and I just love that place. I love the way that it feels, how open it feels, and I had always wanted to do that, and I just never could quite figure it out. I've written a few songs kind of around this character that inhabits that world. And when I made this record, like I sat down and I was like, all right, I've got to do this. I've got to like set this guy in my head free, this character that I have. I've got to build him a world. And so that's what I tried to do. And we've tried to be really diligent with this project of like creating, you know, not just the music, but like the songs, of course, and like the visuals, for like we went out to West Texas to like make a lot of this stuff, which was really fun and really difficult, you know, like nothing about this record has been like easy, but I think that might be what makes it great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That it's been challenging you.
It has challenged
as
me.
A creator.
It has challenged me more than anything I've ever done.
Wow.
And it's scary. It's scary because you're like, wow, I put a lot into this. I hope people like it.
Yeah.
You know? But then I just go back to what we talked about earlier. It's like, man, getting to make this has been like such an honor.
You could still be walking dogs in Boston.
Yeah.
You could be doing anything else. But the fact that you get to do what you want to do and have that opportunity to bring that into the world and bring it to life, man, that's something you can't take for granted, and you got to be proud of every day.
Yeah.
That's what keeps you going.
That's right. Yeah. So I'm excited, man. Of course, you know, I'm nervous, and but I think and as far as like I try to throw a dart, like I know that I'm like hitting the bullseye as much as I can. So
Yeah.
like beyond that, like it's not up to me. you
Yeah.
know?
So what made you choose the songs that are on all the rest for
Yeah.
like part one of the bigger project?
Well, I'd always sort of envisioned this EP. It basically this started with that song, "It Set Her All the Rest," and which I actually wrote like a few years ago, and I wanted to put it on a bunch of different records, and it was always like, no, you can't put this out yet because you don't. It's part of a world, and you haven't made the world yet. So if you just put this out there, it's not gonna like mean enough. So I was really challenging myself to like make sonically and song wise, like make a body of work that could like support this song. And so, yeah, I just wrote and wrote and wrote, and even cut some stuff that like isn't even going to be on the record, but just trying to like get as close to the thing as I could. And so, yeah, this has That's All Right and How Missing You Sounds, which is a new one that people haven't heard yet. It's like one of my, I love this song.
Who'd you write that with?
I wrote that with Brandon Hood and David Ray.
Nice.
And we were writing it. We were out at the castle in Franklin, and we wrote like most of a song, and then we got to the bridge, and it started doing this thing, which you'll hear. It's like, sounds like old Tom Petty, I'm one heartbreak away. And that was the bridge, and I looked at Brandon, and I was like, hey, dude, I hate to be that guy, but like, this is the only part of the song that I care about. This is the chorus. So we have to redo the whole thing around this one part of the song. And honestly, it was like super quick to like move it all around. But that was a really fun experience. And then cutting it with Brandon Hood is like an amazing producer, and he's like crushing it right now. He's doing like the Ty Meyer stuff.
Yeah.
And, a bunch of great records. We have been making this album since I think 2022.
Wow.
So just a little bit at a time. You know, we've done a few different studio sessions, and he's been like a huge part of the process, and I'm incredibly grateful to him because it's taken a while, obviously.
But it's almost better for it to have, like we talked about earlier, like the time to marinate. You know,
Totally, dude.
You're
Totally,
not,
and it's
you're
all
not rushing anything.
Yeah, and it's all very intentional. And like this other song on the EP, this song called "You Got Away," Brandon and Billy Montana wrote that song, and Brandon did like a demo of it. And like when I first got it, I was like, man, this is a cool song, but like not for the record. But 6 months go by, you're listening back to what you think the record is, and I'm like, well, hold on a second. You drop that song in there, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's like it was supposed to be here the whole time.
Yeah.
So having the time to get to really choose like what's going where and be intentional, and with the EP and with the album that you'll hear eventually, like it feels very, to me anyway, feels incredibly cohesive and thought out, and like the pacing of the whole record and all that stuff. So that's just been a dream that I've always had. I've always wanted to make a record like this, and for one reason or another, just never had the opportunity. So to get to do it now is like feels really exciting.
That's awesome, man. And as a consumer, as a fan, I can't wait. Like I'm so pumped that you're back. Like 26 is a year of music for you.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Yeah, I'm super pumped. So
it's awesome. And then you talk about being on the road, and are you still out there doing that a bunch? Like
yeah, a little bit. Kind of trying to find my way. I think you've heard like times have changed,
bro. Oh, I know.
It's
I know.
It's a little different than
Yeah.
it used to be. Whatever stuff, like gas is expensive.
Yeah.
Venues are, there's a million reasons why touring is harder, but I also believe that it is like more important than ever.
Yeah.
Just to get out there in the real world, and like connect with the fans. I mean, like there's so much you can do on your phone. That's the trap. But my thing with social media at this point is like I think the jury is out on like how much of it is real. You know, obviously there are real people watching the content. I can tell like with my podcast that these are in fact not robots.
Yeah.
But what percentage of them, I don't know.
Yes.
And when you are out on stage singing your songs to people, you can't replace that.
No, the live experience is always going to be with us, that in-person thing.
Yeah.
And that's what is fortunate for us with all these industries changing with technology. That live experience is going to be craved more now and in the future than ever before.
Absolutely. So I'm trying to like be strategic and take my time and like find the right partners and the right places to do it. But like that is a huge part of my plan for 2026 and beyond, is like doing that, and I'm excited to get back out there.
That's awesome, man. Well, I can't wait to get out to a show.
Yeah,
watch you out there, man. Be one of those folks out in that crowd, man.
Yeah,
And
I love that.
thank you so much for coming on here, man. Like seriously, you're someone that I've been talking about with Nick, where I'm like, I gotta get Troy on here, like,
cool, man.
and keep doing what you're doing, man. Like the podcast is so helpful to folks like myself that are in the industry and here in this Nashville world, but for the people that aren't here, that are curious about what goes on and hearing people's deep stories, man. You have any other episodes coming, like any upcoming ones that you're super stoked about?
Oh yeah, man. We got one with we just did Chris Blair from the Listening Room.
Oh, nice.
Incredible story.
Yeah.
We've got Lee Miller.
Yeah.
Like legendary songwriter.
Great dude, yeah.
Wrote in color, and yeah, we got a bunch of stuff coming. So I'm pumped, and thank you for having me, and thank you for the kind words about the music and the pod. And,
Dude, of course,
it's
bro.
an honor to be here.
Of course, man. And pop out whenever you're free. Pop out to an event sometime and come hang, man.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to showcase that live experience as well, because it is so important, and it's such a big thing in the community, man. Well, y'all be sure to go check out our man Troy Cartwright. All the rest, the EP, be on the lookout for the full picture. Go to West Texas with our man Troy. The project will be coming out. Full project will be coming out later on this year, but all the rest, go stream that thing and check out the 10 Year Town podcast. Incredible pod. Learn so much on there. You get to hear some incredible stories and get to know more about Troy on there as well. Shout out to our friends from Surfside. No bubbles, no troubles. Check them out and get them wherever you get your booze. And for more on us, visit raisedrowdy.com. For my man Troy, I'm Matt Burrill. This has been Outside the Round.
I ain't never been the kind for staying in one place for too long. I ain't never been the best at saying I love you to a girl I love. Only got a couple tricks on my sleeve. They usually just